It's a good win. There's a lot of people. It's like Woodstock, except everybody's got their clothes on.
But eat a damn snack.
You're like my wife when you get in space. You just get lost.
It's ahead! Short steps are better than long steps. That's the only time in your life you're going to hear short is better than long. It's ahead!
Bang.
I'm not doing it.
Pow, pow, baby. Welcome back.
There's no way.
It could be a new thing.
Can't.
We're working on it. Hey, welcome back to 614 Headsets.
Be a new thing, Kyle.
That's my new thing. Actually, on the drive over, I was thinking I might start every episode with a new movie line, right? And so we'll think about it. I was going to yell, Ma, where's the meatloaf? But I didn't. Hey, welcome back, 614 Headsets. It is a special episode, running it back again. We just had our 7-on-7 with Jonathan Alder, Gahanna, and Northland football. It's our third year doing it. Second time coming together to podcast after it. We have a better camera this year. We used Ryan's last year, and it died after 30 minutes.
Chill out. Why are you trying to throw my camera under the bus?
I just like to give everybody the truth of what we got
the
here.
job
Transparency.
Done. Look at the helmets, though. Dude,
Yeah.
Can we show the audience the least
Couple
stuff?
helmets. We got
finally
Ryan's.
got one.
We got Ryan's the land up here looking pretty fresh with the Viking helmet looking good, and we got some last year's Gahanna helmet, and I don't know, Sned, what is that up there?
We got the blue collar, no sticker, working
We don't
class.
need nothing. We don't need nothing.
There you go. They're still working on it. I love it. But
What is that?
hey, we can't thank you enough, right? And just so we're talking about everything going on, we just hit another record-setting month. We've been back-to-back highest downloads we've had. It's fantastic, and we can't appreciate everybody's been rocking with us since the beginning or just finding us now. Right, we're a bunch of high school coaches around Columbus, Ohio that just love what we're doing, and we're proudly sponsored by Fundraising University of Ohio. Fundraising University of Ohio offers a variety of fundraising efforts, helps football teams run profitable, effective, and fast-paced fundraisers designed to raise the most money in the shortest amount of time to reach their fundraising goals. Fundraising University of Ohio is locally owned, operated, and with their 6-step blitz system will help your team maximize profits. Brent Maxwell with Fundraising University will sit down and help you strategize and execute your fundraiser. If you're interested in us running a fundraiser for you, please contact Brent at email at the letter B, Maxwell at fundraisingtheletteru.net or 740-501-8946 to start dominating your fundraising, just like Gahanna football dominated today. And that leads me into how we talk today. So I had to.
He had to put that in there.
That's what's. Here's the fun part, right? When you're leading the conversation, I can throw these little jabs in wherever we can. And I will say this though, Mama Stout has been saying, "That boy Ryan, he sure does been giving it to you lately."
Oh, did she let you know?
She did. So, how we want to start today, right? We just got done doing a 7-on-7 together. Nobody's watched any film yet. We're going to get into more specific questions here in a second, but. First impressions, no film. How'd it go today? What'd you like? What do you think you got to work on? Let's start with what we liked, something like that.
No, catch
think?
the ball is the first thing that comes to my mind. I think that's
all
for
three
everybody
teams.
across the board.
All
right?
three
Like,
teams.
Catch the ball.
Both sides of the ball, too.
Yeah.
No one could catch
Pick opportunities.
I don't know what was going on, but at the beginning it was catch the ball. So we're not going to start off what we like first, because that's the first thing I take away from the thing is catch the ball. That's it for me. I thought that the kids competed. I thought all our kids flew around and they played hard. And then for us, I think defensively, we did a really good job with the shifts and the motions compared to what we did last year with them, and making sure that we're bumping to the right spots, and then also running with our guy if we're in man, because we haven't bumped yet in man. But our kids overall did a great job, and then we saw our quarterback throw some really good balls, but we got to catch the ball.
And piggyback right off of that, and I'll let Roberts talk about this more, but I thought the biggest improvement we saw between our last 7 on this one was defensively. Our communication was much better. Our guys understanding the assignment. Without watching film, and it's always a dangerous move to start reaching conclusions without film, but defensively just seemed like our guys found a more comfortable level with what we're trying to do.
Yeah, we're young, so like they already saw it a little bit once. They made their mistakes, and today they corrected them. They started with some mistakes, but they corrected. That's what we want to see. Like we told the kids, like I want to see you guys just execute. We can fix things, but they're flying around more confidently. That's
And the
big.
communication piece.
Yeah,
Our kids
they're
just
talking.
You could hear them actually echoing calls today, which is it's a
I
step
didn't
in
have
the
to
right
yell
direction.
as much today. Like I feel refreshed. I didn't yell as much today.
Yeah, I thought it was a good day. I will echo it was a little sloppy at the start, but in terms of catching the ball, I don't know if it's start of the week Monday blues a little bit. I don't know.
A little bit. Holiday coming up.
But that was one thing for me, what I was most disappointed about. What I liked is I thought we played well as we went going, especially once we get into competitive kind of stuff. I think sometimes our kids just go, and then when it's competitive, if we can get them to get their mojo up and feed off of each other, that lifts the level of play. And I thought our quarterback played well outside of maybe one thrower, so I was excited. He did a really good job today kind of placing the ball in some spots. Like, doesn't seem like it to much people. You're down inside the 5, like putting the ball low and away where only he can get it.
Yeah, he threw one of those, that slant right there.
Yeah, so that's a really
dark.
smart, savvy thing I like. Moving forward, just what do I think? We just got to be crisper. Got to do better. Like, I hate missed assignments, as I'm sure you guys do, and the biggest thing is, like, catch the ball, right? Too many drops today for what we're doing. That's how we felt. I know we're talking about adding a 4th team in the future, right? That'll be good. Adding a 4th. We'll see if they make the invite to here. We'll see. We'll see if they make that inner circle. Hopefully,
we got to figure out who the head coach is, though.
Yeah.
It can't be somebody that
they got to jive. They got to jive.
They got to
right?
vibe out with us.
And my wife's upstairs cringing right now just hearing this.
So,
another coach, more people.
Funny thing here, a little bit different episode for us is a lot of times we have a very set title and a set theme of what we're doing. Like the last couple of weeks, we've dived into the red zone. Today, we're going to open up and just ask a bunch of different questions. A conversation we've got some different questions from fans and things as we get rolling, okay? Let's go ahead. Let's get into this main segment here. And let's go ahead, before we get to question 1, Ryan, let's talk about our friends at Storied Rivals who were actually there today doing a great job, and I can't wait to see the film.
They always sponsor my favorite segment, but that's not going to be brought to us today. But Story Rival Sports Media Championships, friendships, and life lessons are among the most meaningful parts of the athletic competition. They are passionate about preserving them by offering the most unique highlight experience available.
That's right. Storied Rivals delivers your team's content with services designed to change the way you experience these unforgettable moments now and for a lifetime. Storied Rivals now offers a complete team apparel and player shop customizable to your program. Contact them by email at info@storiedrivals.com to schedule a member with their team. Appreciate you guys coming, Aaron and the rest of the boys today. And your Trench Fest highlight that you put out was pretty fire. We're excited about that. And
to schedule an appointment with a member of the team.
Correct.
Not to schedule a member of the team. That sounds weird. But go ahead, Kyle. My fault.
I apologize. Yeah. But, hey, we'll talk about next year. You notice that the only person on this show that only gets to do half an ad read is Ryan. So I'm glad he had to correct me because the last full ad read he did was so bad, we had to chop it down to a half.
Well, I was just saying.
So, thank you, Ryan.
I just had to let you know.
All right. So getting into it, first questions here.
I do read
That's
aloud.
okay. I'm going to go with we're here. Thank you, Coach Snedeker, for the wonderful invite to the house again.
Of course.
Appreciate you, Sneddy.
Thank you for the Pioneer Pizza. That's the only free shout out you'll get on this podcast ever again. It was great. Thanks for picking up, Big Cat. But this one comes from you, Coach. You talked about this. Experimentation during 7-on-7s and how to use it as a teaching tool. And anybody who wants to chime in or go from there. So how do we experiment? How do we use 7-on-7s maybe to an advantage? How do we use it as a teaching tool after the fact?
This was a change in my philosophy because just being so competitive, I wanted to run our stuff and make it perfect, and that's not necessarily what 7-on-7 is about. It's time to like play around with certain things. So the last 2 7-on-7s, our kids, we get in the huddle and I'd call something, we'd add an additional tag, and our receiver coach Barnett does a good job with this as well.
Awesome.
But just playing with things like, okay, this is our base concept. Everybody knows this concept on this team. You've run it since you were in 7th grade. So now let's go ahead and add an additional tag, or let's motion, or let's do something. And it just adds a level of fun to it as well. Like you can start to look at coverages, like what happens if we try to manipulate the inside backer or a roll down safety by throwing a corner out. And one of the plays we scored on today was throwing a little wrinkle from our third receiver in the trip set. And I think the kids, once they saw what we're trying to do, they're like, oh, okay, if we do this well, if this looks good, this is something that we can add and have some fun with. So it's been a change in my philosophy 100%, where before it was we do this. Now it's, okay, we do this, let's add a little something, let's see what happens.
Yeah, it's fun evolving as the longer you go and you learn your players better. Guys come up through. We tag a lot, right? So we're a big believer in formations, motions. You saw us working a little, just talking about experimentation. We've never been a massive shift team. And so now you talk about how do we play around with and see what we like. We're talking about how do we continue to layer some of our things we like. And now the layering for us has gone into full-on shifts and things. You look at some of the best offenses in college football and even NFL, that's what they're doing, right? They're doing, you look at Washington and you look at some of these other places, these full concept shifts and things. And so we're seeing what our kids can handle. We're learning how to do it and trying to make it easy for them. But tags are cheap, man. Any way you can keep a base concept and keep your playbook smaller and then tag things off of it. We talked about our stinger concept that you guys saw. And for us, it's, man, we have different motions out of it. We are now shifting to it. Now we can tag different guys to it. But that wasn't how we were year one with that concept. Yeah. Like we had to experiment, play around, see other people run concepts, see have a tight end come up, some other things. And then when we ran it in the beginning 3 years ago, we ran it basically like one or two ways. And now it's like a whole multitude of ways we can do it. And I think that's a great thing you can do is package things and tag it.
I think the cool thing about 7-on, for me, what I've noticed is like the experience of our players determines on how much I'm trying to expand our playbook and put new things in and try things. Yeah. So last year, for us, we had a really old group. Like you guys knew, we had some guys that have been with me for 4 years. They're very explosive guys. So we were able to tag a bunch of things. Now we're back to the start where it's like juniors, sophomores led group. And so our kids, I feel like for us, we're trying to get confidence in what we do. We're trying to figure out who's going to be the guy that we can go to in tough spots. So really not trying new things, but getting confidence in the things that we do and that we're going to buy into on a weekly basis. So I think you could take it one or two ways, just depending on where you're at with your program or what kids you have. Just like I was telling one of your coaches today, it's 100% about the Jimmies and the Joes in high school, right? Like
100%.
Coaching can go really good. You could go so far with coaching, but if you don't have those dudes, you have to do what you can with your guys. And I think that's what our coaching staff does a great job of.
Some of your best coaching jobs might be your less talented team where you get them to overachieve or you get them to a 7-3 or who knows whatever that record is. That might truly be your better coaching job for you and your staff than the year you go 9-1, 10-0.
That kind of goes though too. It's the personnel, Jimmys and Joes. So it's not even the schemes and the motions. It's, can this kid play this position? That's what we're doing right now.
That's what I was chewing on too. Experiment with kids.
It's our personnel package. Yeah. Like, we think this kid's this position. This is great.
And I also like that it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't it matters. Yeah. The reps matter. Don't get me wrong, but the wins and losses don't. So you're able to throw things out there and throw people out there and try different things, and you can leave that day and say, that didn't count against us, so we're able to reconvene. Let's come back to work.
It's a risk-free way to test stuff out. Because if you're testing stuff out come week 1, week 2, you might be in some trouble.
And it's good for the kids.
You're definitely in trouble.
I was trying to put a little light.
Like if we get beat on something, we can tell the kids, like, hey, we know this is where the weakness is now, based on our personnel, based on what we're doing. Now we have time to clean it up. And they don't get upset. They understand, hey, I'm telling you this new position, I'm trying. As long as they're going all out, we can clean it up.
Especially defensively, we've been experimenting with kids in different positions that maybe it wasn't what they were when they were in junior high or freshman year because we got so many young guys. And it just, God, it gives you great evaluation.
I think that young guys thing that we do too is like such a great station as coaches for us. Having old guys at one side, having young guys at the other, and being able to have your coaches for that side of the ball be over with those kids and coaching those kids the varsity way.
All your varsity guys, your whole staff
there,
with your young guys.
And I don't know. I thought our young guys, I was thoroughly impressed with all 3 of our young guys. I was like, man, they're all playing hard.
And I like that we've done this 3 years now that we can talk to each other really well and be like, hey, what just won that route? Like some other teams, you might not be able
They're
to
not going to tell you what you just did.
Yeah.
No, when you guys scored on, I immediately yelled, Sned.
Like,
what was on there?
That's good for us.
What was that?
Being able to like correct that stuff and talk through it. And sometimes some of our kids have seen like just us talking to each other and they picked up on stuff I've seen where they're like, oh, that kid ran this route because we're talking to each other. It's been,
and the thing is too, like today,
same like Kyle, he hit one on us, and I was like, hey,
the one I took from the NFL playoffs that we've been running all year, and it's been pretty well, but. Like you saw my secret binder, right? And so my secret binder, since we were one of those teams that did some of these early 7-on-7s, since I'm a big guy, like what I mean is I'm a big believer in if you can't run it without the card, you shouldn't be running it in the 7-on-7. I don't want our kids to have that crutch, but that binder, since we started 7-on-7 so early this year, those were my experiment plays.
Right.
Those were some of the things that weren't necessarily the base. Hey, my kids need that visual real quick. We've run it, we've walked through it. that's a binder play that definitely now has become a play for us. But you guys even asked, what was it? And I told you, and I showed you, and I'll even send
Barnett
you.
did see you with the binder, and he was like, is he trying to pull Water Boy like over there with the C
No,
foot?
no. But it just, everything's starting so earlier, right? When you're doing your first 7-on-7 in May, and we talk about I use this time as experimentation. Hey, here's early opportunities for me to experiment to see how do these plays work and do I like them. So
especially in that one, the play that you did against us, you put our strong safety in a complete bind and killed all our reads.
It's been doing really well. I'll send it to you. Sticking in the 7-on-7 realm, I don't know which one of y'all put this, but you said 2 pros and 2 cons of 7-on-7 benefits for the kids and coaches. Is that you?
Yeah, that was me.
Let me ask you, Ryan, did you even put a question down today? No, I figured.
I didn't even have this notes.
It's shared
on the
to
group.
you.
I didn't look at them.
There's the
This
answer.
is what I have to work with.
I didn't look.
This is what I have to work with. All right, so 2 pros, 2 cons. Let's start with the pros. Other than experimentation, you can't say that because we already talked about that, or putting kids in different positions. What are some of the benefits you think of 7-on-7?
If we start pros with 7-on-7, I think defensively it's huge, especially in our league. So this is actually what I was thinking about. I think I've said this before on your guys' podcast. Our league is so run heavy that once we get into the season, we don't get a ton of pass game work as we're prepping for each weekly opponent. So we get to really dive into coverage stuff and work pass game with linebackers. Linebackers are always working their inside run fits and stuff like that. This gives us our time to truly get work in the pass game. So when we go from a London that's going to be double tight, double wing to Bell Fountain, whose quarterback is going to Ohio State.
Yeah, possibly the number 1 guy in the nation is what they're pushing and saying too. Yeah,
we have that baseline. I think it's critical defensively.
It's been easy for us to be able to, even though we haven't worked it a lot, weeks 3, 4, 5, we get into league play and we do come across the Bell Fountain. Hey guys, remember we have this on film. Remember we talked about this. It's in their brain a little bit. So it's easy to be able to go back to that.
I like the chemistry side of stuff. You know what I mean? So if you think about it, just your quarterback might become very comfortable with 1 or 2 receivers that maybe he has played with for 1 or 2 years. And now when that changes and now there's new guys, it's all those reps that you get to develop. It's not real, but it's realer, right? You know what I mean? In terms of a chemistry side of things. And then I got to be honest, I just love like the competitive side, like actually seeing your guys compete. Could you imagine we didn't roll out until
That was what I was going to say.
later? And it was really interesting. Like we complain a lot about Ohio rules compared to some of the Southern rules, but last week we had Rich Holzer on who talked about Maryland rules.
Oh, man.
And it is outrageous. It is the craziest set of rules I've ever heard. It talked about he could only have 80% of his.
I can't explain. It's unreal.
Something like
80% of his
starting roster, if they're back, he can only bring 80% of them to the 7-on-7. And
so he has to bring JVs to offset that number. Just have kids stand so that he can have his full 100% varsity.
And then it's the compliance.
Coach, it doesn't make any sense.
And then it was into getting even further about like you can only go X amount of time. You can only. If you practice, you get X amount of 7-on-7 time.
Yeah,
so if you practice more in the week, you get more 7-on-7 time. So
it's the opposite of that. Opposite how you say it. If you 7-on and have 3 7-on scheduled, you get more practice time to prepare for the 7-on.
You got to schedule your 7-on ahead of time to be able to practice all that.
So it's this sliding scale of all these different things, and I had never heard anything like it. So I just like that we have
that was my point, was competitive stuff. That nature, I think it brings out the dogs in kids, right? And you get to see it with kids that you haven't seen it with before, right? We had those freshmen starting at corner today. Or not starting, but they came in and got varsity reps, and they were with the young guys all day. And then, just being able to see them compete with guys that were juniors, seniors, maybe some sophomores out there, but they're freshmen coming in and seeing, they can run with those guys. They can play with those guys, actually, and giving them that confidence. But then also you see, that guy's not even close to ready. Some people just ain't even close to ready. But you get to see your kids compete against another team. I think, like, in the summer, I know our kids get so sick of beating up on each other, so sick of going. And maybe, I don't know, I like the way we do our schedule. It's a little different than everybody else, but we don't ever go against nobody else beside in June. So all of June, it's only about us. And that's what we preach to our kids. We're not competing with nobody else. We're just coming to get our work, and it's about us during that time of June.
Was today your first 7-on-7?
This was our first time.
This was your second?
You guys look good.
Yeah.
First one,
This was
yes,
our
our second.
That
This
First
is
one
our
last
fourth.
week.
Yeah. and so like that's what, and that's my point is like for us, I think this one's always great for us to come to as our first 7-on, and we can slow it down. We can coach it. Just
How
like
many
you were
more
talking
do you
about.
have?
We have 3 more. We do 1 each week in July.
You have 3 more.
And
How
that's
many
what
more
we
do you
do.
have?
We
But
got
the one's
one
a
more.
tournament.
We got an additional freshman one, which I think is valuable. I always forget our freshmen have 0 experience with 7-on-7. So last week when we did our first one,
We bring our JV and freshmen together a lot to 7-on-7 against each other for part of practice.
So we do a lot of inter squad stuff just because we have the numbers now.
Yeah.
3 years ago, when I didn't have these numbers that I have, we were trying to pick up 7-ons like all through June as well.
Yeah.
But now we have the numbers to inter squad it out during our camp days and things that we use at that time. But our kids, we've bought into that fact. Like, it's about us in June. Then every week in July, we have 1 7-on-7 where we go compete. Then we're rolling into the season.
Right.
And that's our philosophy, and we love it. But at the same time, it's, okay, where are we at compared to these other schools? Sometimes
we have
feel
3
behind.
more.
Yeah, so we have 3 more. We got the tournament at
like
Hilliard
7.
Bradley in 2 weeks. That'll be a big one
Roberts
for us.
and I talk about it all the time. We feel, and who knows if it's just the way everything's changing, but we feel behind that we're only on number 2, while at the same time, like, we have kids in other sports, all these
Right.
different
I
things
also had
pulling them
like,
everywhere.
I have another point of the cons, and because we said about pros and cons with the players and stuff. What I think is bad is about the young guys, those freshmen and stuff, the habits that they might create that everything's pass. And on defensive wise, or even offensive wise, everything's just
struggle with
pass.
that. We struggle
right?
with that.
So like now, read steps are off, right? Trying to be able to get to your run lane and get to your gap and things like that, kind of get off. But that's only with young guys I see that, because our old guys are used to like, okay, this is only pass, and they get right back into it. The only con I see is with those young guys creating some bad habits when it's
And
basketball.
coaching
inside
always comes
backers.
down to
Slide that
teaching.
mic a little closer to you.
Coaching always comes down to teaching, and I think that's where, with our freshmen specifically, especially this year, we've got a good freshman group coming through. It's bigger than it's been the last couple years. Is just, we went into the first 7-on-7, and you just assume they understand what a 7-on is.
Yeah.
And we need to do a better job of teaching from the get-go with our young guys coming in.
Yeah, those bad we had an inside backer. Somebody, I think it's you guys, your young guys, motioned over, and he was like, "Oh, he lined up facing outside." I was like, "Bro, you got a run game to worry about too. You know? Like, you're just all the way out here by yourself, like, trying to cover somebody. Like, it's a really bad habit." But we harp that a lot.
Address
And
it.
it goes that taking that con and turning it around. It's a good coaching opportunity to like, hey, like that kid made that mistake. Cool. Really forcing us to coach those young guys on those habits.
And the
I kinda
growth
like
in
that.
the young guys,
Yeah.
just in 2 7-on-7s is insane.
But they get those bad habits, and we found that out last year. We start getting after them. I don't coach any of like the scheme stuff with the young guys really. I'm coaching like the habits more than the scheme. Like they'll get their drop eventually. I really focus on the habits.
I think 2 things. I think the only thing I hate is like what you guys said. Like, you guys are talking run reads. You think about passing concepts. I hate when it's just, let's just sprint out of here and drop under anything.
Did you hit a
know what I
play
mean?
action today?
No, we didn't
You're
play
very
action.
proud of the
today.
one
I
last
was ready
year.
for it.
We didn't play action this year. We did some, like, this year we'd worked on some other things. We've continued to do that. That's been a big thing. I think something's going to come up later about how do you install or develop things throughout the summer. I'll talk about that a little bit. But so it's something different for us. We didn't do a lot of that, but I saw this a lot at a lot of the quarterbacks today. Just the floating the ball wherever they want. You know what I mean? Just I try to talk about good decisions. And if good decision is keeping that ball and you don't throw that ball, that's a great decision.
That's what
and
we were talking about at
that's what
that
you have
one
to
when my
do.
quarterback threw it, and we
Right?
both looked at each other. What are we doing here?
We're just sometimes it was 7-on-7, try to force the ball to make a play, and it's like why are we throwing into that triple coverage, or why are we just lofting the ball? Like the couple times I saw some quarterbacks just one high safety just threw the ball right at. I'm like, what are we doing here, guys? You know, that type of thing. And I think that maybe goes back into what you said, the bad habits. And I guess since I'm watching things through the quarterback, that's what I saw a little bit. But those are some of the pros and cons that I saw.
I go back and forth on that one, though, because I tell our quarterbacks all the time, take risks now.
Yeah.
Because there's not a major consequence now. But you better be able to explain to me why you took that
Like,
risk.
hey, coach, I took the risk because most quarterbacks, your read has that last one is what? Like run, rush, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
It's usually get out of there, right? So if he's, hey, I took the risk, I would have ran. Okay.
I do the
Cool that you like
7-on-7
that.
rules where I've seen it where if you escape the
I
pocket,
like it.
they tag on 2 seconds.
No, I like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've not seen that.
I was gonna say that's I think something that's sweet that Ohio State did. I saw that at their practice.
Yeah.
They were running 7-on, and once those 4 seconds are up, someone blows a whistle. The quarterback has to scramble out, and now you're into scramble
Love
drill.
it.
Correct, yeah.
And I think that's a great way to do
I
it.
listened to, it was probably better than anybody, but Steve Hale. I was at the West Jeff Clinic talking, and I got to sit on a little bit of Steve Hale talking. He talked about every 7-on-7 rep ended with a throw. And so you had a built-in a scramble drill for everything. And we talked about that. I was like, wow, that's really good because I'm now not carving away 10 minutes to work a scramble drill and do it. Like
practice, yeah.
So that's something we've talked about doing too. Is
I like that. I
making
think
that
we do
an
that next
automatic thing. So every 7-on-7 ends with a throw and it turns into the scramble. I like that, and that might be a good idea next year. And maybe we can get some guys. There's a lot of big homes around here. There's got to be some guys free to come over and have their business phone attached to them and have a clock for us. You know what I mean? Listen, we're
Big
sitting.
Coach
We have
Ned
those
was
clocks.
running it today with the clocks.
So
Yeah.
Hey, next year I'm having our bus drive through this neighborhood though over here, just so our kids can see what it
This is
looks
where
like
we're going.
outside of
This is where we're
270.
let's throw in a viewer question here. Let's throw in a viewer question because it builds on to what we just talked about. And then I think we have some random other kind of things coming up. But so this question came from Coach Webb, and he said, when implementing an offense or defense, what's the process? Like, where do you start? How does it evolve? We're obviously in the starting phase right now. That's a big question, right?
Yeah.
Where does it start?
I think you battle this
Every year.
I think when you're going to install, again, I'm going to feed back onto the basis of like it depends on your kids, and it depends on like your maturity level and how many returners that you might have on that side of the ball. And for us, like this year, we're back to just our basic over front and trying to line up regularly. Last year, I was able to send all of our fronts at our kids. We had 7 fronts in last year. And we were able to send our 7 fronts out of our kids early with all the stunts and everything, but we lost a lot of those kids. So I think for me, we battle this every year as a stat. I don't know about you guys. Maybe you guys have a perfect plan or something, but for us,
There's no such thing as a
you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
such
That's
thing.
a tough question to answer because I
think-
feel like year-to-year basis, it changes.
I
Absolutely.
think as a coordinator too, I think like getting different perspective here. Like as a coordinator, I would like see the personnel. I know Coach Ned looking at personnel. I come up with an idea like this year we met a bunch. Like what are we gonna do? Starting with personnel. What's our defense gonna look like? And then as coaches, it was also up to us to find the best system for our guys. And that really, I think that's where coaching comes in too. Like, what are you gonna run? Based on your personnel, if
Well,
you're like, why run this kind of
self-reflection
system?
piece is
Maybe,
huge.
yeah.
Like you have
Yeah.
to self-reflect of
Yeah.
the whole year last year, and then to me, we completely switched our install blitz right this year. We're doing it the other way around to see how it's going to work. As in, we're doing our simulated pressures first instead of our single dog pressures first, because you can add mic, whip, and stabs, and your boundary safety blitz or your weak safety blitz or your boundary corner blitz and weak safety blitz. You can add those single dog pressures in easy. And we would do those first and then do simulated pressures. Now we're doing simulated pressures first to be able to get those full concepts of blitz game in. And so I guess next year when we do this, I'll let you guys know how that goes.
Experiment, you're taking
Yeah,
notes,
I'll let
right?
you guys know how that goes.
That's coaching, right? That's
Yeah.
coaching.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
figuring
you
out
have
what's
like you guys talking about your personnel. Like for us, like we have a base of what we say is what we believe in as our system. I sit down and make an install schedule. I might take the first 5-6 days and create a loose schedule, and then I leave myself a lot of grace to at the back end pause that schedule, take a practice where we don't do anything, evaluate where we are. And the big thing is like what you said about full concepts for us. We'll spend, let's say, we'll spend 3 straight practices in inside zone. This year, I even slowed down even more, and kids are like, are we going to run this? Nope, not yet. Right? Like, we're going to get really good at the individual and doing this.
Yeah.
But then, like, as that's going on, like, maybe the linemen are just doing that. I'm layering other stuff with that. Next thing you know, now we're layering play action. We're layering big play action shots. We're layering the RPOs off of it. It's just layering your full concepts together in your family tree of what you do in your system. That's what we've really been doing the last 2 years that I've really liked as well. Because then I go line up against Coach Holiday. I'm just sitting here running inside zone. Like, it gets a little hard. But as we get going, then now it's layered in. You got your RPOs, you got your play actions, you got your other stuff. You get your play action protections off it. Now it helps you a little bit where your kids aren't just slamming inside zone, but they can see how things work together.
And they build
off of it and evolve. But I'm with you. It comes down to your team. Like, you might be able to go faster one year than another. I've taken a different standpoint. And 2 years ago, we got to week 15. Last year, we got to week 13. Making our June much slower. Like, we have not even inside run or anything like we have in the past. Like, how many times did we inside run? It's June and we're just already going at it. And so we talked to the kids like, hey, like, this is for you guys because it's a long season, right? You saw where we got to, where we want to keep getting to. Let's really slow down and learn now and take some of the physicality out.
Physicality.
Physicality.
That's your next T-shirt.
That's my next one. That built GL tough is good. And then
Physicality, boy.
I like
Made
it.
up a new one. Made up a new one.
Physicality. Kill real big.
Yo.
That's that 2025. I like it.
Next year, I like.
You talk about install stuff, and this absolutely crushes my soul in the month of June because it is all pass-based. Now, we need to improve our pass game. We know that's something we're working on. We have the people to do it, the kids on the team to do it. But I look at it from a run game perspective. That's where I want to start. It's just rules don't necessarily allow that in Ohio with what you're trying to do. So we do some base install stuff, but in the past, we have been a wide zone team. Backs that we have coming back are really good between tackles and that little slice and knife power counter game. So our install is inside zone and then gap. Yeah. We haven't even touched outside zone yet.
It's hard because we battled with, do we want to be an outside zone team? Do we want to switch to pin and pull? We're going to do some other things. Go ahead.
I'm going to have to go to the bathroom.
That's great.
Yeah, ready for stop to yell at me.
All right, here we go. Another good question. This one's a little bit different. I wanted to get into this.
Acknowledge the switch.
Acknowledge the switch. New member here, right? We were going to leave this as a mystery whether we were actually going to show or
they
talk
kind of
about
look
the
alike.
switch or not. They do
just a lot smaller.
Yeah.
Go ahead, introduce yourself, man. Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
First timer.
Thanks for having me on. My name's Tyler Rowe. First year on the Jonathan Alder staff here with Coach Sned. I was in Upper Arlington for 8 years in a couple different capacities before that. Took last year off even, and then, now I'm here.
And volunteered to be an intern on 614 headsets, which was fantastic.
Yeah, I have a photography degree.
Yeah.
Run some video, do some photo.
Get my meathead hands off of doing all. Yeah. As in about
hands.
9.
On the no Kyle.
Needs to be on the next intro. Just that in the background.
All right, I'm sorry, Kyle. I'll let you go.
The main topic of today's show, sponsored by and powered by First Down Playbook. First Down Playbook is the nation's leading playbook and play design software with over 35,000 professionally drawn and edible team plays with notes and full playbooks to start from. You'll be on your way to getting an edge over the competition. First Down Playbook can manage your entire team management system with practice schedules, scripts, custom QB wristbands, and more. If you use the code HEADSETS24 or mention our show, you'll receive $100 off the already most affordable option in today's game. And if you look down in our show notes, we have a link provided for you, or you can just search them and you'll find them. But we've been loved using them as well. Sayers has got his whole team on it. I've been using it for our plays of the day. Drawing on there is so smooth and such a breeze. But what's cool is the owner is an NFL coach, college coach. He's coached for almost 29, 30 years. It's a system by coaches, right? And they listen to their coaches. They take their feedback. They make the software better. If you're interested, they do have a free software, or just, hey, guys, hit us up. I'll let you get on our 614 headsets account and kind of play around and see if it's for you or not, okay? But, hey, in 9 days, Netflix is going to come out with Receiver. I don't know if you guys saw that or not. And they done quarterback. They're now doing receiver. My question to you is 2 parts here. So on receiver, we're going to have Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, George Kittle.
He's tight end.
But yeah, but he's on
Pass
receiver. Debo Samuel and Amon St. Brown.
That's important.
Okay.
Yeah, true.
Who are you most excited to watch from that list? I'll probably have to repeat it for Ryan because he interrupted and wasn't listening. But who are you most excited to watch?
Entertainment-wise, it's got to be George Kittle, but Debo Samuel and everything he does, I just want to see that. Like, how do you use a person of his talent in so many different ways?
You said Devontae Adams too?
Yeah.
I'm excited to see him. He's somebody that I feel like you don't know a lot about. He doesn't talk a whole lot. And
Keeps
I
his
kind of
cards
want to
close.
see, I want to see some more about him and how he goes about his work, because obviously he's one of the best in the game, and just want to see more about him and how he functions day to day, how he attacks things.
Nah, Mon St. Brown for me. Coach Campbell, baby. That's one of my favorite
Sneak some
coaches
extra Coach Campbell's in.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
I love that guy. And then for him, Amon St. Brown, I just think he's so electric. And he's done so much for Detroit and us being able to see what they've turned Detroit back into, a little football town there. But I think for me, Justin Jefferson is probably one of my favorite receivers to watch. He's electric and he flies around, makes plays. I do wish my boy Kirk Cousins was staying with him, though.
Yeah.
I love that little combo there.
Kirko Chains.
Yeah, that was my guy.
I love a little Kirko Chains.
I'll go back with the Detroit, though. If they could come back, Hard Knocks, and just do MCDC every single year, I'm game. I'll watch it every year.
Let me ask you this. The second part of the question. They haven't done it yet. You know they will at some point. But if they did a defensive series, who would be some of the people you want to see as defensive players in the NFL on that show?
Oh, man.
Myles Garrett.
I said Crosby. I think Crosby.
Oh, yeah, Max Crosby. Oh, yes,
that would be
100%.
entertaining.
Yes.
We had another are you coaching offense or defense?
I'm mostly defense. We
got to coach both over here, Jay.
Yeah.
Here we go, another stab. Here we go. My coaches coach both sides of the ball.
Yeah,
Okay,
mostly
cool.
defense, outside
All right.
linebackers.
All right, so
yeah.
we got some defensive guys more on here. What are some of the defensive guys you'd be excited to see?
I love Fred Warner.
Ooh,
He is one of my favorite linebackers of all time. He flies around the field. He's an athlete. He's not just like a stiff linebacker. I feel like a lot of people see linebackers as like these stiff, just run downhill and clog up the run kind of guys, but he's all over the field. He makes plays everywhere, and I love watching him play football. I'd love to see more about him because he's probably my favorite linebacker in the league right now.
I can't say that because Taki has the coolest name, so that's definitely my favorite linebacker, baby.
First team all name.
Taki on the tackle.
Well, we
Listen,
got-
Hard Knocks is going AFC North. Just focus on the defense in the AFC North.
Yeah.
Game on.
Yeah, what's cool too is that
Micah Parsons is my other one.
There you go.
Oh,
I
that'd
love
be
Micah
good.
Parsons.
Patrick Queen.
I just saw that would be cool. I think of the D line one. We just named 3 D linemen,
Unreal.
right? That's probably what they'll do next. Copyright that, Netflix. Thank you.
614
614 headsets,
or
D
whatever.
lineman.
Yeah, TJ
that
Watt.
would be fire. But that's probably what they'll do.
Yeah.
They're gonna listen to us and they're gonna figure it out. All right, but we talked about the Hard Knocks and the inside stuff.
Yeah.
They're doing a Giants off-season one. Did you guys catch that?
Yes.
I didn't realize that. I just saw the advertisement for it. They're really expanding that stuff because it is great and I love it. Let's talk about this. Let's get into. Well, I know whose question this is because Ryan didn't do any. But summer.
Probably not mine then. You know whose question it isn't.
I know it's not yours. Summer engagement for kids. What are some of the things you do for competition or make summer fun?
So this is one I learned a ton when I got to pick North under Nate, because he wanted to make sure that stuff was going to be exciting. There was going to be competitions built in and stuff like that. And I know that a lot of people that I've talked to have done the same thing. It's something that I think we need to improve on at JA.
For sure.
So it was definitely my question because I'm trying to steal stuff from you guys. But we've done competitions in the past, like just built in. It could be something as simple as a tire pull. I know we just did that a couple weeks ago and things like that. But like setting unit teams, like what are the types of things when you get to that grind that can flip the script for the kids? And
What's constituted as the grind?
when you get to... Jeez, when you're
Are we talking
Dead of
like
summer.
May,
lifting and
June,
conditioning,
July?
yeah,
Are we talking
yeah,
June?
Yeah, early on. 'Cause
Early
once-
I think
June.
for us, like a big thing that we do is like we make running fun, as in I have a set number in my head that they're going to run of gassers, half gassers, sprints, or maybe 15-10s or whatever I've came up with that day. But we always call kids out to come catch like a huge punt. Like I launch the ball as high as I
The
can,
big
and we'll
boys
have
or
our
something.
biggest
Yeah,
kid come
yeah,
out and try to
that's
catch
fun.
it. Or
That's always a
we'll
good
bring a
one.
skill guy out to kick a field goal. Okay, you can knock 2 off if he makes a field goal. Or we just do like fun things like that. And then we also do, like my coaches are young. A lot of our coaches are young. So I'll be like, all right, Zaire, come up, and you got a one-on-one with Coach Harris. If you catch this ball on Coach Harris, you're going to get 5 off of the sprints for the day for the guys. And so we just do things like it's fun, and we involve our coaches too, because there's nothing better than when one of your coaches locks one of your kids up, and it's amazing. And a lot of my guys are young and played football in college, and they're pretty good dudes. And like we had our offensive line coach race one of our offensive linemen last year to knock off times. And so we just do
Did he
fun
win?
things like that. Yeah,
right,
Coach
good.
Cutton toasted Mountain
Tell the
High.
rest of the story.
Yeah.
You got to tell the rest of the story for everybody.
So then they had to bear crawl to the fence and back, and Northland to the fence is probably about 250 yards.
I think the thing, like some teams we've done this for, is like you build everybody into smaller accountability teams. I think Coach Heath is doing it right now. Coach at Heath, Coach Ward, he's doing it at Heath.
Yeah.
So there's different.
Forget Ward.
Yeah, my bad. Because there's only one Coach Ward. All right, that's something you could do. Taking this from Nate, man, just bring an ice cream truck. Bring the ice cream truck one day.
Yeah.
I think, did we do the water balloons at North too? Was that a thing too, or is that Gahanna?
That wasn't. I don't think that was.
So that was-
one.
they
We've done
used
that
to-
at Northland.
It
water
used to be a
balloons
Gahanna thing where like one coach, like all the parents would fill up a bunch of water balloons. It was like one of the last practices. It was a certain practice of summer, and they got to just tag anybody, like things like that. Like you can tag the coaches, you can do whatever. One of the coolest things I saw, went to Northwestern University when Fitz was there for a bowl game practice, and at the end of the bowl game practice, they had a dunk take on the sideline. And players
for all
got
the
to
kids'
call.
names that were on the board.
No,
Your name's
I don't
on the
think it
board,
had
you're
to
in
do
the
with
dunk
that.
tank.
But players got to call the coaches they wanted to throw the ball at up into the dunk tank. If they missed, the coach got to come and pick anybody they wanted to be in.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
But it was just something cool to keep it fresh and make it different. And we've all been there where you do the line them up, act like you're going to kill them, and then you take them to the pool or you take them to go do something else. I think those things are fun. I think the hard part, though, is like we've all done it from years in, years out, but we don't stay with it or keep doing it.
Yeah.
You get away from it. You don't do it for a couple years. You get
Yeah,
more
you
about
forget
the
some things
you get more
sometimes,
about
yeah.
the practices, and then you go, man, we didn't do anything like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We do some things at our team camp, which is fun. Like last year, we called it the block party. We took a bunch of cornhole boards and jumbo Jenga and hillbilly golf and spread it all out and just let our kids sit out there and have a little tournament and play and listen to music. And so that was cool at the team camp rather than watching a movie. I'm like, why are we watching a movie? Let's get these
Yeah.
kids actually hanging out
Something active
together
and-
and doing something. So
July
just-
4th hit so late this year. Last year we did a mustache contest and American flag gear, and then we ran 1776s. So you hit the track and you have to run
Yeah, yeah.
1,776 meters.
Sounds real.
I'm sorry, that was mine. I got distracted.
Mustache contest, huh?
I got distracted. It's just really interesting to imagine if you wrote all these down, though. If you take everybody's different ideas, you'd have a lot of great stuff to pull from, and you have to do it. Like our sport is so hard, right? Like where it's
And
like
it's so
your
serious.
kids are doing something from all winter, especially kids that
we
are
keep saying at
multi-sport.
Northland, like we got to protect our sport, protect football. It's the last
Yeah.
gladiator sport.
Yeah, and I think if you don't add certain fun elements, if you don't find a way to lighten it up, it's so easy to get focused on the details.
Hillerich said this is the number one thing. I think Hillerich is a bum, and I hope he listens to this. But he said you always want your kids to want to come back.
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I've taken that with me since I've went to Northland. Is you want your kids to want to come back every
it's
single
hard.
day. It is hard.
Like,
it's
it's-
tough.
Like
Football's
when
hard.
you compare it to a basketball where you can just go hoop with your boys, or you can go shoot 1,000 shots. But football is very hard. It's very physical. Like you're gonna practice. You might have a practice where only 1 or 2 balls come your that.
Especially
come
like
your
you
way.
big boys,
Yeah.
them linemen.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, there's nothing really
punching a
casual
bag and hitting
about
a
it.
bag
You can't,
over
you can't
and
go out
over.
and casually play football.
Can't do
for
it
the most
yourself.
part, you know?
Can't go have fun just putting on the radio and shooting 100 shots or hopping on the gun or something crazy. But this is another viewer one. Brian Costa, Sergeant Costa. He might be more a sergeant now, I don't know. But how most high school coaches feel about kickoffs. With the NFL trying something new this year, do you agree with the new kickoff rules? How long before it maybe becomes a part of high school? Or
Keep
will it ever?
kickoffs in the game. Keep all special teams. It is a great part of the game. I hate trying to eliminate that stuff because you want big player, you want more offense. Whatever your philosophy is, keep special teams in the game. I think it's awesome. And then, like, even for us at our level of high school football, I think people forget about the opportunity that the special
change
teams
the game.
provides to also young guys,
Other players too,
right?
yeah.
To other players
Yeah.
that aren't your varsity guys, but also provides a sense of a change of
Well-
momentum, a change of the game, especially if you have those guys. Like last year, if you take off kickoff and punt returns, that kills a lot of our game. Zion scored 8 times on kickoff and punt returns last year.
People kept kicking to him.
I don't know why. I'm not even joking. It made no sense. Kip Columbus, he took back 4,
I'd be
got
like,
2 called back.
we're
And they
kind of
kept
done
getting
kicking
off.
at this kid.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so here's my thing. I look at it like this. I think people lose sight on at the highest levels of, let's say, top college, Power 5, and NFL, all those kickers can just boot it to the end zone. And it's such a wasted play, right?
Yes.
But at the high school level, that's not the case, right?
It's a
And
football
how special teams can still significantly change or impact the game, I think it's something we need to protect. And I understand maybe a little bit why the NFL is doing it, right? We're talking about dudes that can absolutely fly down the field and end somebody's life.
Yeah.
230
Whereas,
pounds,
like,
the
at
momentum.
the high school level, I don't think every now and then, yes, we get a violent tackle, a big hit, something like that, but not to the level the NFL had. So I think we have the range of difference where it can still really impact the game. We're not having as many of those violent collisions at the high school level that it's something that we should not change. That's my thought.
I think to your
yeah.
point where it's just it's different athletes. They're not NFL athletes. Those guys in the NFL can seriously harm somebody when they're running full speed like that and they have that much time to gain as much speed as possible. That can get dangerous because they're just that athletic and they're that big and just physics, momentum. It just happens that way. But in high school, I don't think it's as big of a problem. For the NFL, I don't hate those rule changes. Obviously, as long as it stays in the game, I think that, like you said, it's important. But yeah,
And
I
it's
think
like
your
looking
point
at
about-
Kyle and adding a little bit of weight, but moving his 40 to
Way
4.5,
faster.
4.4,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
you go
Talking-
to high school, and then you can use Sned now as an example. You have him running down on kickoff.
Man.
Sorry, I'm sorry, Sned.
No, it's got to stay
Little
in the
Mighty
game.
Mouse running down.
Because he might be the killer. Actually,
Yeah.
you never know.
Hey, I was leading tackler of the game that I kicked off because I forgot I was supposed to be the safety. So just throw that in there. But I think it's important because when you talk about high school football, field position, I think even more so than some of the more refined higher levels, it's so critically important. And I don't think you have the big collisions. Like, I love to see the data. And there's not going to be any
I don't
but
think
the
it's
data
many.
for
I don't
injuries
think
and
it's
things like that.
As many, no.
I think it's an important part of high school football. It's part of what makes our sport fun.
You think about the NFL, the collisions were so bad they had to get rid of the wedge, right?
Yeah.
Because the collisions were so bad. But it'll be interesting to see what changes. If you think about it, we don't even do it at the JV perspective now.
No,
like
we
we get
just-
to
yeah,
choose, and
we
most
don't.
people don't. So it'll be interesting to see.
I think part of that's practice, though.
Yeah,
too.
you don't practice
How
a
much
lot of
are you able to
JV
practice
kickoffs
JV?
and-
For sure. I think guys are just like, yeah, let's roll. But last question, last fan question from Dave Burnworth, right? He runs the blog spot. He just did your quarterback.
PA Sports, PA News, right?
Yeah, he kills
it. He does a great job.
Yeah, he's crushing interviews with a
State's
lot
fan.
of people. He said, should the OHSAA allow co-ops so more schools can play football like New York and other states do? I think is this like when your school's too small, you combine with
yeah.
another community?
Yeah. I think that's really hard to do just from a logistics standpoint when you think about things like that, right? I think about it as like a head coach, right? Is that one school fundraising wise? Like I just don't know. Logistically, it makes me nervous. And now if somebody has a good logistics behind it, and
Well,
like New
what's
York
cool
and
is
stuff, I
he
don't
gave
know.
us a guy, and our July is already booked. We're already planned into August to where we slow down and do our 4 quarters. But he gave us a guy to talk to. I think that might be a really cool episode.
No,
just
it'd be
to dive
sweet
in
to
and
learn. Because
hear
for
about.
me, when I saw that question, I looked at it and I'm like, I instantly, as a head coach, started thinking about the logistics behind it.
So like, I could see like where that could be a benefit, like so kids can continue to do stuff. But are you finding that there's towns logistically that close right next to each other that it makes it
If
simple
they're
to
that
do?
small, probably not geographically that close.
They're probably the small school in an area with another.
But on the other side, you think big OCC schools, you have multiple junior highs when they do combine them
Ours
into
do.
one team. Yeah.
So we have 3 middle schools and
it'd
they're
be
all
similar-
one team.
Similar
So-
to that, right?
Yeah.
So when I was in Upper Arlington, they have 2 middle schools and 2 separate teams, but there were a few years where like numbers were lower, so they had to combine those
Right.
teams. So that's really the only example I have. But it seems to, and it's obviously way different because they're all in one district, so everything's combined and all that stuff. But it seems to be positive because one year when I was coaching middle school, we had 15 kids on our 7th grade team. And so we had to go half line and all that good stuff. But then the next year when they were in 8th grade, they combined. And I think it was just a better experience for them. But I think what you're saying, like logistically, if there's a set rules for that and it's very clear cut and it's not a lot of gray area, I think it's a good thing.
I just think about like money wise too. Who's going to pay for the security?
It'd be a
Who's
lot to
paying
work
for
out.
refs? Who's
It'd be
paying
cool
for
to
this?
hear about. I'm fascinated by it, but I'm also
Yeah.
fascinated about how real of a problem is it. Every year we see a team have to cancel the rest of the season, or
Or they
things
play the
change.
7-man, 8-man.
But my thing is though, is how prevalent is it in Ohio? But then also, how prevalent is it that you have another team close enough to pair up to you to do that? I don't
That
know.
would be hard.
I don't know
didn't think
any of that.
How
People
does-
would have to tell us about that. That's a real thing. Hey, that's going on here.
How does Kentucky do their county schools? Because they have
Yeah.
something similar where there's
Yeah.
multiple feeders within a single county, but
Yeah,
it's
I
a
don't know,
one-county
man.
high school.
That's it. It's
That's an interesting question. I like the question because
Yeah.
it makes you think, but at the same time, I think there's a lot of things.
It's like we can't really give a lot of info about it, but I'm super fascinated for a
I would love
future
to hear
episode, bringing somebody on to learn about and asking all of those questions to learn more about it, and finding out, like, is this something I don't hear anybody in Ohio talking about it?
I also was thinking that, like, when with this is, you know how there's this, is it 8-man football? Is that what it is? Or
What is 7-man?
7-man
I think,
football?
yeah.
Yeah.
Which I started thinking about this when that guy brought up was like, what's the limit on like how many kids you have to be able to play in 7-man football?
What's your roster
Like,
ought
what's
to
your
be
roster?
with a
Does it have to
7-man
be
team?
15
I
kids?
don't think
and
there
you
is
can
a
play?
limit. I think
You know what I'm
it's
saying? What
7
makes you make that
you
decision that you're a
classify as
7-man
a
football
7-man?
team? You know what I mean? Like, where's
Yeah.
the limit?
Who
or
was
not?
the NFL linebacker that all he ever
Van
played
Der
was
Esch.
7-man? Yeah,
Leighton
Van
Van
Der
Der
Esch.
Esch
That's
for
all
the
he ever
Cowboys.
played in high school was 7-man.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that. We hear like Coach
cool.
Casey
He was
talk
from,
about
like,
that's where he
Wyoming.
started.
That's what I'm saying.
So-
Like, he started there. That's crazy.
From Idaho. He went to
It's
Boise
clearly
State.
somewhat growing because
Need it.
now we go to clinics and you start seeing more and more 7-man based clinics and
Yeah,
things
and
for
breakout
it.
rooms for it.
Yeah.
So
So
if you talk about our league, that's what Indian Lake was before they actually.
Rosecrans.
My
I remember
grandpa played
Rosecrans switched to
7-man.
that.
those are two good things. Those are two good ideas for season 3. Something 7-man style,
Yes,
and then
I would
also
love
the
that.
co-op style to put it down as ideas. But hey, we're gonna wrap this up. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Thank you for helping us put together another big back-to-back month. You're going to catch this episode post July 4th. We're going to take a break, even though we're doing it now, and put it out later. We deserve one. We've been rocking hard, and I know you guys are going to celebrate, not listen to us anyways. Good for you. I wouldn't either. Thanks, Ned, for having us. Thanks to Jonathan
Thank
Alder
you, guys.
for,
Yes.
once again, always putting on a good 7-on-7. Excited to do it and continue to do it. Make sure you subscribe to the show. Subscribe, download, leave us a rating or comment. Keep helping us achieve and do some things so we can keep growing and hopefully keep bringing on better guests, bigger guests, do some more opportunities. Like people have already asking us, what are you going to do next year? And we're excited about some of the things we're chewing on for next season. We're going to get into some all gas teams here
Coming
in
up.
July.
Yeah, look for your players. Don't nominate your players. Send us your
yeah,
players. Like, who
we've-
you think should be on there.
We've got another special teams episode coming up soon
Yeah.
too. After this one, and then like we're gonna slow down as we should, getting into our 4 quarters as we start to focus on the season. So hey, head to 614 headsets. Thank you,
Thank you
everybody.
guys so much.
Enjoy
Get me
the
off
rest
here
of July.
Ned keeps trying to play footsies with me.